Back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl, Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. Today, let us talk about Mr. Igbo, the whole Mr. Igbo saga, the drama, the tea. For those that do not know, Mr. Igbo, whose real name is John Okafor, is a Nigerian actor, a comedian. Mr. Igbo first got married many years ago, and his first marriage bore him 2 children, 2 sons. But somewhere along the line, that marriage crashed. And although neither of them came out to address the cause of the marriage crash, it was very obvious that the marriage packed up in a very bad way, because Mr. Igbo had insinuated countlessly how that marriage didn't give him peace, so it wasn't a good experience for him. Some years after that marriage crashed, Mr. Igbo met Stella Maris, his now wife, and according to him, he was convinced that this woman was the rib of his rib, the flesh of his flesh, the blood of his blood, and then he went ahead and asked her hand in marriage. Mr. Igbo is from Enugu State, eastern part of Nigeria, while this wife, Stella Maris, is from Imo State, Ndisi. So they got married and they went ahead to have 4 children. Unfortunately, one of the children passed. In fact, there was a very nasty incident, a very unfortunate incident that happened shortly before that child passed. So many years back, Mr. Igbo's wife, Stella Maris, and this their child were kidnapped. The child was only 1 year old, and shortly after the ransom was paid and they were released, the baby passed. But apart from this casualty and this unfortunate situation, Mr. and Mrs. Igbo, permit me to address them as Mr. and Mrs. Igbo. Mr. and Mrs. Igbo's marriage have been clear from social media. They have been together for up to 50 15 years now. And in all of these times, we haven't had any reason to have their marriage being tabled on social media or print media or any media at all. They have been fine, at least to the best of our knowledge. In fact, Mr. Igbo would constantly take to social media to heap accolades on Stella Maris, praising her for being supportive and caring and all of that. And really, it only takes a supportive spouse to be married to someone who's a Hollywood actor, because by nature of their job, they're everywhere, away from home. Sometimes they spend weeks, sometimes months away on set. You can go long periods without seeing your spouse. So it is not the easiest job for a partner to cope with. So one would believe that the spouse who is married to a Nollywood actor would definitely be supportive. And that is the impression that Mr. Igbo had given us about his wife, Stella Maris. And we were fine with it. The first and only time we began to smell rats, or even see rats, or hear anything about Mr. Igbo's marriage was when an alleged adopted daughter came into the picture. Over. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't, before that issue, heard anything negative about Mr. Igbo or his wife. Mrs. Igbo took to social media sometime last year, releasing a video of her husband almost beating her up. And in that video, he was asking, "What did Chioma do to you?" Give a Chioma American in English. What did Chioma do to you? Just take a look at the video, just in case you have forgotten. You don't do that. Yeah? Tell me what I want to say right now. Tell me what I want to say right now. Say that now. Say that now. I can't believe you. I can't believe you. You're going to make this ugly. Talk to me right now. Who is Chioma now? Talk to me now. Talk to me. Talk to me now. Talk to me now. So Mr. Igbo was charging so angrily at his wife because of this Chioma lady, Jasmine. Now, in case you didn't follow the story from last year, I did a couple of videos on that story, which I'm going to leave in the description box. But assuming you did not follow it, let me give you a tip before you watch that video. Chioma Jasmine is a divorcee. She married a man that she met on TikTok a few days after seeing him, and few weeks after that marriage, the marriage crashed. And this lady, this matured woman, is said to be Mr. Igbo's adopted child. Now, if you do not know Mr. Igbo's history, you might say, okay, maybe he needs children. Let me make it clear so we can get these things in perspective and see why these issues are coming up and why so many people are not comfortable with this so-called relationship of father and daughter. Mr. Igbo is said to have up to 13 children. He had 2 children from his first marriage. He had 4 from this present marriage, and he has other love children from other women. I mean, children he had in the course of his marriage with Stella Maris. And now he has brought in another person that he claims is his adopted daughter. So he's not particularly one looking for a child or a childless man that needs someone that would stay with him and keep him company. He has a handful of children from different women. So let's get back to Stella Maris' outburst last year. Stella Maris took to social media crying and alleging different very serious allegations against her husband and this Jasmine, showing a picture of a dilapidated building. In fact, the building was flooded up to the knee. She said that was where her children, she and her children, were living. Mr. Igbo abandoned them there and ran off to stay in Abuja with this Jasmine. She claims that her husband had stopped being responsible for her upkeep and the upkeep of her children, despite he was the one who stopped her from working. She claims that Mr. Igbo didn't want her to work, told her that he's busy, let him go out there and make the money. He cannot be on set for 3 weeks, and the wife would also be running up and down, that the home front would suffer. So Mr. Igbo discouraged her from working, and she was a completely dependent stay-at-home wife. She claimed that Mr. Igbo and Jasmine were not father-daughter, as they were painting it to the media, that they are engaged in sexual relations. Yes, they're just sleeping with each other. And she's wasteful, she's an ingrate. She came out fuming and saying her own part of the story. Eventually, last year, they all came together and did a reconciliation video, and Mr. Igbo's wife started calling Jasmine my daughter again, and Jasmine started calling Mr. Igbo's wife mommy, and they came together, mommy, daddy, and they made up and told us that yes, families disagree, families have misunderstanding, and all of that has been put behind them, and they were fine, and we were fine too. But anybody who had foresight, anybody who could see beneath the surface and smell rats from afar will tell that an impending catastrophe was looming, and that there would definitely be drama very soon. So some weeks back, Mr. Igbo took to social media to explain. In fact, he was lying on a hospital bed. He explained that he was ailing once again. Mr. Igbo has been battling health issues for some years now. So he said that his health has gotten worse. He needed money, he needed help from Nigerians and colleagues and all of that. And people rallied around, people started donating to him. In fact, some point along the line, information got out that he had gotten amputated. His condition had gotten so bad that they had to cut some part of his leg off. So yes, contributions were trooping in, donations were coming in, and from my knowledge, some days back, that contribution was to 100 million. I'm sure by now we should be way above that. A few days after this revelation of ill health and this contribution made it out to social media, Mr. Igbo's wife took to Instagram again to allege many things. She said that once again, she has been sidelined in the affairs of her own husband by Jasmine. She said that she doesn't have any idea, any knowledge of the money being contributed towards her husband's health. She doesn't know how much is in the account. She's not a signatory to the account. She's not a party to the whole thing. She has been kept aside on this very important and very crucial issue involving the health and the finances of her husband, that she's just in the dark like a stranger in the hospital, while Jasmine and her team are the one running the affairs. Let us read a little of what she had to say so you can understand where I'm coming from. She said, recently, there have been some malicious lies being peddled against me on social media as masterminded by Jasmine Chioma Okeke, who wants to make me an outsider in my own home. But God forbid. I will address Jasmine's excessive interference in my family affairs and other related matters when the time is right. But for now, my husband's health is most important. Now, she addressed this 1 million naira donation that was made into her account. Remember that Jasmine had said that somebody wanted to contribute 1 million naira to Mr. Igbo, but instead of that money being channeled into the medical account that was opened, that Mr. Igbo's wife gave her own personal account number for that money to be paid into. Hey God, this is husband and wife. Hey God. Okay, hold on. So Mrs. Igbo said, the 1 million donation they spoke about was paid into my account on my husband's instruction and in his presence to offset some bills at the home front. I don't understand why Jasmine, a total stranger, should be dragging me over my family matter. Come to think of it, okay, in today's video, I'm going to be giving my personal opinion as an adult, as a human being, as a family person, as a wife. So if this woman is in the hospital with her husband and is incapable of working, even if she had any personal engagement that she runs to generate income, by virtue of her husband's ill health, she has been at the hospital with her husband. So it's very possible that she might not be generating income now. So if husband and wife come together to agree that a part of the money that was contributed for her husband be used to maybe pay school fees or feed the children or fix something in the house or repair the car or do anything that is personal to them, should a third party, even if it's that man's biological child, not to talk about a stranger, an adult that came into the family in the guise of an adopted child, does anybody have the rights to question the decision of that husband and wife? I want to hear your opinion down in the comment section. So if a man is sick and somebody contributes, for example, 500,000 naira to him, that man does not have a right to agree with his wife, okay, take this 100,000 naira, go and cook and take care of the children at home. Do they need to account to honor the person for the decisions that both of them took? Especially when that decision is not frivolous. If it's an important one that would benefit that immediate family. I'm confused, but let us go ahead. She said, I do not have access to the main Access Bank accounts where people are making donations. It is being secretly controlled by Jasmine, yet she is cooking up all kinds of lies and propaganda against me in order to keep absolute control of that account. How she manipulated her way and took control of that account is a story for another day. Again, guys, let me know in the comment section. If a man is sick, who should be part of the people who should have access or control or a say in the finances? See, this says a lot about the kind of marriage that Mr. Igbo has with that woman. I'm not trying to exonerate anybody, but for Mr. Igbo to be comfortable to have his wife kept away from his funds also says something about the kind of marriage they have or the kind of woman she has been to him. But we're going to get there. Let me know what you think. Let us keep reading. Now, Jasmine had alleged that Mr. Ibu's wife said that she wants to buy a car and do BBL from the contribution money. I don't know whether that makes a lot of sense. Is that plausible? Is that reasonable? Does that sound believable? Because this woman already knows that public eyes are on her. Come on, Jasmine records every phone call, every conversation that she has with this woman. So knowing the situation, knowing Jasmine's involvement and how much Jasmine is in a hurry to taint her, do you think it's possible for Mr. Ibu's wife to start demanding for money for BBL from the medical contribution of her husband when the husband is still on the sick bed? It doesn't sound believable to me, if you ask me. Even a fool will not do that. At least, even if she wants to use part of the money for her personal needs, she wouldn't be doing that when the man is still in the hospital. She hasn't been discharged. Then the wife will say she wants to take money to go and do BBL. It's hard to believe that she would say she wants to use part of the medical money to go for BBL and buy a car while her husband is still hospitalized. Do let me know in the comment section what you think about that allegation. So Mrs. Ibu, Mr. Ibu's wife, responded by saying, there was never a time I asked anybody to buy a car for me. It was only mentioned in a private discussion between Jasmine and my brother, and she recorded it as a tool for blackmail. Come to think of it, if one is dealing with another person, and whatever conversation you are having with that person, the person is recording it, storing receipts for future utilization, I think that's not a very good sign. It tells a lot about the intent of that recorder in that relationship. A relationship where you are constantly piling evidence, waiting for a future fracas, is a very dangerous one. Mr. Ibu's wife said that suggestion was an innocent suggestion by her brother to help her cope with the suffering that she was going through with public transport while trying to coordinate her hospital schedule with home challenges. So let me skip to the last paragraph of this statement. Mr. Ibu's wife says that this whole campaign of calumny against me started because I asked for the statement of account when I noticed some funny attitudes and movements, especially from Jasmine.
In unserem AI-Crash-Kurs zeigen wir dir, wie man E-Mails beantwortet mit AI, wie man Webseiten erstellt, Bilder erstellt, Ads erstellt, Musik generieren kann mit künstlicher Intelligenz.
So even if Mr. Ibu's wife is not a signatory to the account, maybe for some reason her husband does not trust her, does she or does she not have a right to the statement of account for the funds donated for her husband? How is it strange for a wife to ask for the statement of account when monies are being contributed for her husband? Except there's something I do not know. So even if she is being suspected of being mischievous and wanting to touch the money, what she is asking for is not access to the money. She is asking for accountability. Is that wrong? She concluded by saying, but I will revisit these matters when the time is right. For now, I leave Jasmine and her gang to their conscience while I concentrate on my husband's quick recovery. Now, Mr. Ibu's son has come out to refute the claims that his wife made. According to him, Jasmine is not in control of the account, but he, Mr. Ibu's son, is in control, and that he is the next of kin. He is the next of kin to his father. Speaking on personal experience here, for those that know me for a while, they know that I was a banker for a very long time. And in my almost 10 years of practice as a banker, most men, I can state that categorically, have filled thousands of account opening forms. And most men, a good percentage of men, use their wife as their next of kin. So for Mr. Ibu's son to claim that he is the next of kin, if that is that Mr. Ibu himself does not trust his wife, it shows that he doesn't have any confidence in his wife, and he is suspicious of his wife. And I would like to think that that is where all this trouble stems from. Some people have blamed Mr. Ibu's wife, some people have blamed Jasmine, some people have blamed this person and that person. But to me, the one person who has the blame in all of this, and the one person who can remedy this mess before it becomes late, is Mr. Ibu. There is no other person at fault but Mr. Ibu. Because the way a man presents his wife, the way a man positions and portrays and carries his wife is exactly that way the whole world would carry his wife. Be it his family, his friends, his colleagues. If you do not have respect and trust for your wife, that is the same pattern that every other person would follow. Have you ever sat to imagine who and what will be enabling this Jasmine? You're not related to this man in any way by blood or water, and she's having this much say in his affairs. It's not like the man is dead or incapacitated. He can speak. He can still make his wishes known. And there has never been any time that he stood by his wife and says, this is my wife's decision. I stand by my wife. I support my wife. Instead, even the last fights that they had last year, when his wife came up with all these allegations, the refutal video that was done had him and Jasmine and his son in one video while his wife was alone. So it just shows where his trust and his loyalties lie. I don't think it's even the Jasmine's fault. She is operating with the leverage that Mr. Ibu has given her. Mr. Ibu got married the first time. That marriage produced 2 children. He got married the second time. That marriage produced 4 children. He has had several children from other women, extramarital affairs, and he felt like the best thing to do for his family is to further complicate issues by adopting a grown woman and calling her someone's ex-wife. I think Mr. Ibu is complicating his family, and he might not understand what he's doing now until that time comes when he's old and he has come to be with God. He is going to leave a bag of mess if he doesn't correct what is going on right now. If he doesn't put his own together, even his son that is taking sides with this adopted daughter, everybody will clash when the time comes. He's going to leave a pool of blood and feud behind. But truth be told, No woman, I don't think there's any woman in the world that can take or tolerate or stomach half of what this Stella Maris is stomaching. What is the regular cause of feud? What is the main issue between wives and their mothers-in-law? Is it not interfering in my marriage? She is trying to control my marriage. She is trying to control my husband. That is the major issue between wives and the mother that gave birth to that man. So if women will not even tolerate a man's mother who is like, who can be more related to a man than his mother? Not even you. If you want to look at it biologically. But if a wife will take offense and put up a fight against a man's mother who even has more rights in that man's life than most people, if a woman can be offended if that mother is interfering in a marriage, so you can imagine what it is like for a strange woman, a mature woman in her 30s, to come into your home and start calling the shots, determining how your husband spends his money, making you a stranger and an insignificant person. There are many wives that will not stand for it. Many people are even bashing this woman. If it were them, they would have gone physical on the Jasmine lady or even spiritual. This girl can be his dancer. She can be his fellow skit maker. They can, team up together and build a brand. But calling her daughter and bringing her into his home to take personal decisions that his wife does not have a say over is very strange to me. But as I mentioned, it is not that girl's fault. The whole fault is with Mr. Ibu, because he has to say. He has never come out to take a stand with his wife. If he was standing solemnly and solidly with his wife, no person can penetrate their marriage or their home. Nobody would even know what is happening inside. But for Jasmine to be bold enough to come out and take this stance and insult Mr. Ibu's wife without any reaction from Mr. Ibu, there is no argument about it. It shows that there is no regard for her in that marriage. He doesn't trust her. He's suspicious of her. After all, Jasmine released the voice notes a few days ago where Mr. Ibu was saying that his wife wants to kill him. So if Mr. Ibu has zero trust for the woman that he calls wife and rather trust for the woman that he brought in and called adopted daughter, I wonder what that marriage is still doing being alive. Now, this case has even gotten a lot more complicated with this voice note that just leaked a few hours ago. Now, in this voice note, Mr. Ibu was on the phone and he admitted, impliedly, that he was having sexual relations with Jasmine. The voice and the conversation sounded just like his, and if it was indeed the one behind that phone call, he admitted that him and Jasmine are having sexual relations. And that is the suspicion of a lot of people, that they were dating, they were in an affair, and because they partnered so much, creating content and making money off it, the only way he could keep her close was to tell her daughter and say that he has adopted her. But you know what she? Then I tell you, your son. Oh, very bad. You might go about that girl before. Years back, they were going to know one girl or who were a picture. I just did put your hand for that. It was in a Tiago. Every day, each Jesus. This adoption happened within the course of Mr. Ibu's marriage. Did the wife consent to the adoption? Or he just went as a married man single-handedly and adopted another adult? This whole thing is confusing. Because what we are seeing is very strange. Even biological daughters do not have this much upper hand and right above their mothers, above the wives of the men. So let me know what you think in the comment section. I just wanted to pour out my own personal perception of what is happening. I think it's very strange for Jasmine to have this much power and control over Mr. Ibu, his health, his money, his say, his everything, while his wife sits by the corner like a stranger, even when she doesn't endorse what's happening. I also think that there has been something that has happened in that marriage, or that is happening in that marriage, whether it's physical or spiritual manipulation, whatever it is, but Mr. Ibu has lost all confidence and trust for his wife. I think he may be even lingering in the marriage just for the children of sake. He has mentally and emotionally vacated that marriage for him to allow what is happening to keep happening. Do let us know what you think about this situation. Do you think that Jasmine is doing the right thing standing by Mr. Igbo since she is the only one that he trusts? Do you think that Mr. Igbo's wife is actually being treated